I thought this Bellicon was going to save my life. I thought this Bellicon was going to be the best thing that I ever bought. Rebounding, is it the best thing for you? Is there any better way to lose weight? Is it, going to detox you? Is it going to drain your lymphatic? Is it the wonder cure that everybody's talking about? I noticed that Barbara O'Neill is now talking about rebounding. Is it as perfect as everybody thinks it is? Let's get started. This is Ryan over at High Carb Generator. Welcome to my channel. Now today I wanted to talk about the best rebounders on the planet that I've tested anyway. But I also wanted to talk about the benefits that I have found, the benefits that have been found by others of rebounding. I just wanted to give a brief little 2-minute summary or a couple minute summary. So the reason I actually got started in rebounding, which was back in 2009, which is, 14 years ago, was because of my weightlifting. I had read, I don't know if anybody knows who Mike Menzer is, but I had read in one of his books, I think it was High Intensity, the original, that if you rebound in between workout sets, you can actually increase the amount of weight that you can lift. Now, I bought a rebounder. It was a cheap one at Walmart. It wasn't great. I didn't have an ability to get it to the gym, but I figured, the benefit might still carry over. I still might recover better after my squats or deadlifts. I was always big into the leg lifts. And the whole body lifts, compound. So I figured, the recovery would transfer over into the rebounder. I was training some people at that time, and I figured maybe I could somehow get that involved with the gym. Somehow maybe buy one and have it just mine or something like that, because people do that when they're trainers at gyms, but I did notice some benefit, but I didn't figure out a way to get it to the gym, and I really never have actually gotten a way to test it. I do have a kettlebell, and once in a while I will do a kettlebell workout, so I'll do like 8 to 10 or 12 or whatever, 20 swings, and then I'll rebound, and then I'll repeat that cycle. And I do notice a big difference in between if you're just doing kettlebells and if you're doing kettlebells with rebounding. I do notice a recovery difference. I do notice an increase in ability to do more kettlebell swings. Now the weight isn't going to go up in the kettlebell because I only have I forget what they are. I think I have a 16 and I have a 24 kilogram. I have 2 of each. So I did notice that. The other thing that I noticed later on, I was still keto at this time. I wasn't vegan. The thing that I noticed when I was coming into that vegan life, I was very heavy at this time, is that it did help. Like I didn't know anything about lymphatic drainage. I didn't know anything about that. It was purely for just lifting weights. But when I did come into the vegan life, because I was really sick, towards the end of keto, I was very sick, but I did notice a lymphatic drainage, and that I think is what most people actually get into it for. I still had the cheap rebounder, but then I started rebounding daily. Originally, when I got it, I was only rebounding on workout days for whatever reason. So when I started rebounding daily, that cheap one broke. And I'm like, do I want to continue with this? I started selling it to myself, with a lot of people do these days. You go read all the articles about, NASA, how NASA used it for the astronauts when they came back to rebuild their bone density and some of the muscle that they had lost when they were in space. Different various activities. Then if you read that, I went on to read further that rebounding that they found, NASA found, I didn't do the study, NASA did. So if it's wrong, go talk to them. But they found that it burned 11 times more calories than walking. It burned 6 times more calories than jogging, and it burned 3 times more calories than running. How did they figure this out? They had people on a trampoline and they had people on the treadmill. They had them hooked up to a VO2 sensor, and they did calculations based on that. So that is how they did the calculations. All right, so let's get started into it. As I said, I had a cheap one to help me with my lifts. That broke pretty shortly after I started rebounding daily. Then I upgraded to one that probably a lot of people are going to see. I know it's still popular, is the Urban Rebounder. That I noticed way more benefit, way more lymphatic drainage, way more just overall building of musculature than the cheap one from, I think it was Walmart. Urban Rebounder definitely was a huge upgrade. I don't know what they are now. The one that I originally got, the cheap one, was $39.99. The Urban Rebounder, when I got it, was $99.99. And that $60 made a huge difference. Huge difference. Now, if you're a bigger person, I don't know how big, I don't know what the rating is on it. I think it's 250 pounds. It did break on me. All right. It did break on me, and this is why I don't suggest it, but if you're somebody who's probably 150 pounds or less, you might get away with it. The one thing that I did notice with the Urban Rebounder, it was a lot more jarring to me than the one I'm going to talk about last. Actually, the next two, it was a lot more jarring than what I talked about that I'm going to be talking about next. So that is something to keep in mind. You get what you pay for with everything, and it's certainly that with this. So I would, if you can only afford a $39.99 rebounder, don't do it. Find something else. If you can only afford the $39.99, maybe go on the eBay, try to find a used one. It's not the one that you get at Walmart. I think you can actually get the Urban Rebounders at Walmart, but the cheap, bungee, whatever one that they have is not great. So when my Urban Rebounder broke, the springs went flying everywhere. I had a cat at the time. She was like hissing. She was having a freak out session because the springs were, flying. She was not having that. So I started thinking, I don't want to deal with these springs anymore. And I really like doing this. It's really helped me out. It's helped me lose weight. It's helped drain my lymphatic system. It's helped, with everything, everything that they talk about. So I'm like, I'm gonna really spend some money on this. I didn't really have the money to spend altogether, but I did it anyways. I bought a Bellicon. I thought this Bellicon was going to save my life. I thought this Bellicon was gonna be the best thing that I ever bought. I thought this Bellicon was gonna be worth selling a car for, I had high hopes for this thing. And it disappointed me in every way possible. I had it from 2011 to 2017. I used it in the beginning because I spent all that money for it. I think it was like $1,200 with shipping. I got the bands for the highest bands that they had because I was that weight at the time. I was probably 380 pounds. But I started realizing that mat is so soft that your feet kind of pronate in, or whatever they call that. They come in quite a bit, and your knees also come in quite a bit, and it was really uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. I used to be able to rebound on the Urban Rebounder for like half an hour. I do have some feet issues. I have feet issues that like only 1,000 some people have in the entire country, so it's not a very normal foot issue. So I did have that, but I could rebound 30 minutes on the Urban Rebounder and maybe 10. 10 was pushing on the Bellicon. I'm like, what is going on with this? I'm like, I got the highest bands possible. I got I got the biggest version of the Bellicon. I'm like, why am I having so much issue with this? And I started reaching out to others, I started reaching out on the interwebs to others, and a lot of people were having the same issue that I was. If you were a certain weight, now I don't even know if it has anything to do with weight, but if you're somebody who has flat feet, or if you have somebody who has weak knees, it it makes it worse. It really made it worse to the point where I'm like, I stopped rebounding for the most part. I would force myself to rebound because I had spent the money on this thing for maybe 10 minutes a day, but then I had to back it off to like every other day. And then I was backing it off to like every other day. And then it was like once a week and then every other week. I mean, it was miserable and I was in pain afterwards. So I don't recommend it. I've known a lot of people who have gone through this. Another thing that happens on the Bellicon that a lot of people had told me have happened to them is you bottom out. You bottom out. The next rebounder that I'm going to be talking about is the Cellerciser, and the owner of Cellerciser himself, who is not big at all, bottomed out when he was testing it. And one of the times that I bottomed out on this thing, the mat actually ripped in half. And that was it. That was my final straw. I hit that floor so hard, and we were in an apartment at the time. I hit that floor so hard that the people below thought something happened in our apartment, so they came up. So I contacted Bellicon. I sent pictures in. They sent me a new one. I put it together, and I really never used it again. I was too worried. They actually asked me to send the mat in. They're like, "This has never happened before." I'm like, "I doubt it." So I sent that in. I never heard anything back from them. I never really dealt with them again. Another thing that you have to deal with the Bellicon is pretty much, if you're using that thing daily, pretty much every year, you're going to have to change those bands out. And at that time that I was doing it, they were $100. They were $100. I don't know what they are now. They're probably $200 because everything's gone way up. And I'm like, forget it. So my girlfriend at the time was way lighter than me. And she actually liked it. So I gave it to her. She put it upstairs with her and she used it. She really liked it. So maybe, I know a lot of people like it. I'm not saying everybody doesn't like it, but if you're a bigger person, if you're somebody with flat feet, if you're somebody with weak knees, I really don't think it's going to be for you. The last rebounder that I've ever had is the rebounder that's right next to me. I'm probably going to show a short little clip here of me jumping on it. I know I'm not the most slender person in the world, still to this day, but it did help me get from whatever weight I was at. Rebounding really helped me get from like the 400s that I was into the 200s that I got to. I actually got to the lower 200s. I did have some issues. Not going to talk about that in the video. I am in the higher 200s now. But it still handles my weight like a champ. They send it out with the Cellerciser gets sent out with two new springs. I did finally, almost 10 years after have to put one on this year. I got it in 2014. After that mat broke, I'm like, I started looking again, and I found Cellerciser, and I've been with Cellerciser ever since. And one thing that I want to talk about with the Bellicon, there was no lymphatic drainage that I could find whatsoever on the Bellicon. You don't feel it at all, right? I really actually forgot about that aspect of it. The one thing that the Bellicon was really good for is traction. So if you want to elongate your spine, it's way better at that than any other of the spring mats that I found. I have tried Jump Sport, I believe they're called. I really didn't like it either. It felt the same as Bellicon to me. And then the reason I'm saying that is because the day I got the Cellerciser, I bounced on it. I could only do 2 minutes. My lymphatic was draining so crazy hard. I was like, whoa. I said, this is what's supposed to happen. This is like the ticket to draining your lymphatic system. It was nuts. I could only do 2 minutes. I had to do only 2 minutes for quite a while, for a couple of weeks, and then I added a minute, and I added another minute. I mean, I wasn't in the greatest of shape when I first got it. I had lost quite a bit of weight, but I still had a lot of lymphatic drainage to go, and I couldn't believe what a workout it was. And I've been with it ever since. Now, I don't know what they are now. I'm going to put a link down below. I believe they are $300 more than when I bought it. When I bought it, it was only $399.99. I believe they're $699.99 now. So I will put a link down below for the Urban Rebounder. Use it at your own risk. But I'm also going to put a link. I always have the link down below for the Cellerciser. I 100% recommend it. I know it is, people say it's an investment in yourself. I think that's a little salesman-y for me, but I don't know what else, a better way to put it. So I 100% recommend it. Now, they don't come with the bigger balance bar anymore. They used to. I actually upgraded. I think it's an upgrade to the shorter. I have both just in case I need them. What else? I'm looking at it right now. I do have the monitor. I think he still sells it. You can check it out in the link. It tells you how many times you bounce, how many calories you've burned, and how long you bounced for. And there's the intensity thing. There's a couple of things on there. Do you need it? No, 100% you don't need it at all. One thing that I will say about rebounding is if you are looking to have the best workout you can, there's some, I've interviewed a couple of people who actually have channels, and I probably should do it myself with actual workouts. But if you're looking to just have fun with something, which I actually highly recommend, I recommend just not watching any of the workouts and actually just, maybe if you're a football fan or if you like sitcoms or something like that, just bounce to that. You'll have a lot more fun. If you really want to get regimented with it, you can. But in the beginning, especially, I would honestly just put on your favorite show, whatever that might be, and just bounce. I think the more regimented you make something, the less fun it actually is, and the less likely you are actually to do it. Because who likes the treadmill, right? So don't turn this into the treadmill. Turn this into having a lot of fun. I know David Hall says, why play out when you can play in? I kind of agree with that. And I'm actually doing a video right now where I rebound every day for at least 10 minutes. And that's what I recommend, at least working up to 10 minutes a day. And yeah, so hopefully that did you some good. And to recap, the Bellicon I would 100% pass on. I think it's double the cost at this point of the Cellerciser, and it does not drain the lymphatic system. It just does not drain your lymphatic system. You will notice a huge difference between your lymph getting drained, and you can feel it because you'll feel your lymph nodes in your neck. You'll feel them. You'll in your armpits. You can actually. It's kind of gross. But if you smell, I don't wear deodorant, but if you smell your armpit, especially the left one's where most of the drainage comes from. If you might not have any odor there whatsoever, but if you bounce for like 10 minutes, you probably will, and that's how you know you still got some drainage to go, right? I think that's it. It's not going to be the same soft bounce that you have on the Bellicon. It's going to be a bounce that's actually effective. I don't think the Bellicon's that effective at all. I notice a lot of people actually wear their shoes too with the Bellicon, and it's probably because of that mat is too soft. That mat is way too soft. It just is not effective. If you are looking to get healthier with draining your lymphatic system, it is not going to do that. If you are looking for traction, if you have money and you want to spend it, getting both, probably the best of both worlds. Right, because you got the traction that you're not going to get traction like you get on the Bellicon on the Cellerciser, but everything else, like if you're really into those NASA studies are based on a spring-based rebounder. It's not based on the Bellicon style rebounder. So if you want those benefits, you got to go spring. If you want traction, I would think a traction device would be cheaper, but if you want both, go for both. If you are in an apartment, or if you do like to rebound in hours where other people are sleeping, it is noisier. There's no two ways about it. And that is probably the biggest downfall. But it's not that big a downfall. You can just drop a little WD-40 on each little spring, and that noise really goes away. I don't really care about that, so I haven't done it. Anyway, comments, questions down below. Like I said, I'll put the link down below for the Urban Rebounder, and I'll put it for the Cellerciser. If you have the money, the Urban Rebounder is a total skip. If you don't have a lot of money, or if you want to see if you actually like doing it, the Urban Rebounder might be for you. If it breaks and springs go flying and almost hit your cat, you're forewarned. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.